Well, my, look at this dynamic duo. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 210 of the Strompcast. It's just myself and just Christian today. Danny and Sam unavailable, unforeseen circumstances, or whatever they want to call it. So you just have the two-man power trip, hoping everybody had a very happy new year. For those who celebrated Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, hope you had a very happy holidays. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I was actually just thinking, like, I know that me and Danny have done it before. Me and Sam have done it. Danny and Sam have
I've
done
done
it.
one, me and
You've
Sam.
done with Sam. I don't know if it's just ever been the two of us before.
I don't think so. So this is
So,
a first for fans of the content.
yeah, new combination of hosts. So
You
yeah,
got the two conspiracy theorists on together. This get dicey quick.
yeah. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, man.
Yeah.
Kind of a ugly game to dissect from the past weekend, but most important, we got the result. So there's that, and
Yeah.
yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah. If you want to pull up the goal point, we had the 2-1 win over Portimonense, which kept us top of the table by 1 point. We had to win to keep pace with Benfica and Porto, who both won. So not a bad result, but a very ugly game, like you said. I would say it was just. I think that first half was one of the worst for halves of football we've played all season, if I'm being very honest. And here is the goal points. So we had Adan and net. We'll talk about him, I'm sure. The defense was Matheus Reich, Usman Diamande, Luis Neto getting a rare start. Jenny Katamo and Nuno Sanch were the fullbacks. Midfield was Pot moving into the midfield role to play alongside Morita. And then up front was Joquetes as a striker, winged by Marcus Edwards and Paulinho. The Portimonense was Vinicius, Pedrell, Tony Relves, who I was actually very impressed with this game. Costa, Lucas, Daner, Guga, Jasper, Carlinhos, and Helio was rounding out their starting 11. Subs for Sporting, Quaresma and Bragança came on for a bit, and then Esgaio and Trincão came on, did nothing. of no, given by the fact that goal point didn't even give them a rating. Chris, I'll open with you. Thoughts on what was a pretty ugly game in the Algarve?
Yeah, certainly frustrating. Especially the first half. I would say was certainly worse than the second half. We had some chances in the second half. The game opened up a little bit more for sure. This game was especially frustrating in the first half because I felt like not only were we not creating anything, it didn't really seem like we had like that X factor, like that it factor, that like desire to go out there and just take the game.
It almost felt like autopilot.
Yeah, it was very like lethargic, maybe is the right word. Just very, very casual. And it's always for me, it's always tough when you already know the results of the other games. That's why I prefer playing first, to be honest. Like, I guess there's some advantage to knowing, like, for example, we knew today Porto and Benfica both won. So
we gotta win.
To merely keep pace, it's a win, right? A win just keeps everything the same. And if you do worse than that, you're gonna lose ground to both of them. So maybe that was like in the back of their heads, but I mean, you would think they would have played with a little bit more aggressiveness and urgency if that was really weighing on their minds that heavily. It just like was like a lot of cruiser ball. I think in the first half there was over 20 crosses.
It was a lot.
There was no clear cut opportunities created. We had an XG of 0.1 at half. To be fair, I mean, I guess Portimonense deserves some credit for this situation, right? Because they were playing defensively, right? They were organized. They weren't really even trying to go forward, right?
No, to their credit, they made it very difficult just to even try to get a cross in.
So yeah,
anything in the final third.
There are teams that pack it in against us and are less effective than they were for sure. Yeah. So I mean, credit to them for being effective in what they were looking to do, which is just basically break the game, I assume. Second half, a little bit better. It took like a inch perfect cross and finish to get the ball across
That
the
was the stuff.
line.
That was the stuff of dreams. That
Um,
pass.
The ball is perfect. The run is timed perfectly. The deft touch to just do enough to lift it over the goalie's arm and put it in. Vic was very quiet in the first half. So, all we know that all he needs is one moment and he can turn the game, on its heads. Pot, great pass. Credit where credit's due. It's very frustrating to then turn around and concede in a game like this.
Oh, and quickly too. It was within minutes.
And it's like it took us a while to get this one goal.
Yeah.
Do we have enough time to get another one? I wasn't convinced, to be honest.
No, neither was I.
I was totally not convinced that was going to happen. And there may be some luck involved on the second goal for sure.
He completely planned that. Knew where the defender's leg was going to be. It was all planned.
Yep, he flicked it on the defender's leg because he knew the flick didn't have enough height to get over the keeper's arm.
He had a protractor out and knew the angle. If I hit it at
ramped up the defender's leg almost to just enough to put it over the keeper's arm. Because the finish was we're kind of right down the middle, if we're being honest. He did also he was kind of far away. He was maybe 8 yards away. That's kind of a far distance to
try that.
To even get enough power on the flick, which I mean he had enough, but barely. And the deflection kind of betrayed the keeper more than anything. But it found its way in. Paulinho, to be fair, he has several clutch goals this season. A lot of them off the bench. I mean,
he's got to be close to his total from last season.
He has 7 this season, I think, which is
all comps or just
I think just the league.
Just the league.
I'm not positive on that though. I read it this morning. I don't know if I remember reading if it was just the league or if it was all comps. But I mean, did he even reach double digits last year in the league? Maybe he got to 10 at the most. So yeah, he's definitely bearing down on that total from last season at about the halfway point
for sure.
And I'm sure in much less minutes as well if we went and compared and contrasted. Because I mean he was a 90 minutes a guy pretty much most games. And now he's more like a 20 minutes a game guy.
He's 20 minutes, he's 60 minutes, sometimes he's 45.
Sometimes he's 45 on a good day.
His goal to minutes ratio, his goal to games ratio alone.
It's up. It's definitely up.
His goal to time on the field ratio definitely up compared to this time last season.
And then I guess the last thing I'll add before I pass it to you, and then we can kind of hit on some specific events, was just I thought Adan kind of helped us today.
I was slating him on the
Saturday,
free kick.
Whatever it was.
Yeah. I slated him on the free kick, but yeah, he came up with 2 or 3 clutch saves. Which
I think
really
he takes a bad step. He steps to his right and then he steps to his left and then he tries to get to his right. Doesn't get, I mean, it's kind of there's that one meme where it's oh, it was very in the corner and he has tiny arms. It kind of was in the corner, to be fair.
Yeah.
Maybe with a better reaction he can save it, but I'm not gonna slate him that much for that one.
No. I think it's just like you said. If he takes a slightly better step, or he doesn't
because he takes one step to his left before.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you take that. When you take that step, you just sometimes you can't. No matter what you do, you can't compensate for it because you've already under committed to the side you want to go.
And maybe on one they had 2, maybe 3 breakaway ish moments,
fast break moments,
with opportunities. And I think one maybe I think it's Baganza maybe gets or Quaresma even slides in and gets a block on it.
Quaresma, I believe.
But Adam's right there. It's a coming together of 3 bodies at once. I'd say he did decent there, and then he saved another one. I mean, if he doesn't they tied again.
It's a 2-2 game, and we're talking. We're in a different mood.
One of them is just a really bad Eduardo Quaresma turnover.
Yeah.
And that might be the one where he slides in and just kind of cancels out.
Yeah.
The entire situation, but yeah, Adan kind of did what he needed to do. He had a free kick in the first half that was right at him. He had to save it.
There was the one cross that he palmed
crossed.
away that made me nervous.
He kind of flapped at it, but he made contact with it and did enough.
I've seen him. I would have liked to punch, but he got it away.
I've seen him come out for those and get nothing but air. So we've slated him a lot. I just wanted to give him credit where it's due.
Yeah, he's you know what, he must follow us on a burner account or something, and he saw the slander, took it personally. That's the only explanation. No, like I think to your point, yeah, I thought it done outside the free kick goal, which not completely his fault. I don't think he deserved. It's poor coverage. It's a weird, awkward ball. It's kind of tough to begin.
I don't even know if it's an own goal or not, to be honest.
I don't think it's an own goal. I think it's
really
just
tough to tell.
It's just a weird, the way the ball's dipping and curving. It's difficult for any keeper. Does he take a bit of a misstep at the start? Sure, like whatever. And I think the only other criticism I had was the one that he, like you said, he flapped at. Like he got contact, kind of got it away. I would have preferred a punch than an errant.
It didn't actually get away though, because I think Portimonense still maintained possession. But
I think they skied.
It wasn't like a big chance created directly off.
No, they skied it over the net or something crazy on the follow up. Moving on. Yeah, brutal first half. I don't think we need to go over it too much. It felt like we were, like you said, lackadaisical. I credit to Portimonense, they held it down. Like anytime we got anything past midfield, they just clogged up every passing lane. It was man on man. Like you couldn't do anything creative. Guys like Edwards just couldn't do anything. You talked about how Jokeres didn't really have much of a first time. I think it's just because they couldn't give him any service, right? Like even when he was trying to make runs, there was like one or two guys already on him clogging up the space. He couldn't do anything, and you can only. I saw some people accuse
Paulinho of clogging up his space by drifting into the middle. Maybe
a little, I guess, maybe because Paulinho's a natural striker, so probably his first thought is to go centrally. But I think no matter who you had it on that wing, I think it would have kind of been a similar first half for the most part. You might have had maybe one or more half decent chances if you have Pot at that wing instead of him playing in the midfield, but that might be about it. Credit to Pot, by the way, wicked assist. He's been on a bit of a heater the last little bit. It's a wicked assist on the goal. It's an inch perfect pass. It's a great touch by Thick Vic to just get enough of it to steer kind of over and curling away to the keeper while still being in that on the corner target of the net. And then they immediately come down and score anyways, so it made no difference. I will say I was impressed with Relvash, their center back. I just signed him in my EAFC career mode, so I'm very fired up to have him.
Nice. How old is he? Young?
He's in his early 20s. He's like a 22. Okay. I think he's like 22 or somewhere around that area. So, if you're looking for a decent little center back for your EAFC career modes, that's a guy to invest in. But yeah, he had a good game, so credit to him. And then it was kind of we had a couple chances. Paulinho could have had another one or two. He had one.
He definitely could have had another one.
He could have had another one right at the end when it was two.
He definitely could have. He could have at least hit the fucking target with that one.
Yeah, he sailed it. I thought I saw that. I'm like, brother, all you have to do is get it on target, and you have like a 95%.
Yeah, like your odds are scoring.
Yeah. I think that's definitely one of those he'd really like to have back. He does get the goal. It's good work to get in. It's a decent ball. It's a little awkward for Paulinho because it's kind of behind him. Audacious to try it. Great that it worked. Yeah, he gets a bit of help from the defender, obviously, for sure, but it doesn't matter how, it's how many, right? Sometimes it's just that's all it is. It's how many goals he scored. We knew we needed to win coming in this game. And I do agree with you, by the way. I do like playing before Benfica and Porto, because then it's like, because then if we had played this game before them, it would be like, okay.
It's like a PK shootout, right? You want to shoot first. You want to set the tone.
You want to put the pressure. You want to put the pressure on them, because then we would have come in going, okay, we have a 4-point advantage. If one of them could even just draw, that's huge. That's what as a fan, that's what you're thinking. It's just it's you want to have the advantage heading into the match week, right? I thought Morita was huge this game. He was my man of the match personally. He was awesome. It sucks that we're going to see him leaving for the African Cup of Nations. That's Jenny and Diamond for the Asian Cup, which I didn't realize was also in the winter. I thought it was in the summer. Similar time. and like Copa America and all that.
I just don't think it got that much hype maybe in previous
Well, because
years.
I know AFCON's almost always
Also,
mid-season.
the other thing could be maybe there's just more top Asian players playing in Europe than there was even 4 years ago, right? Is that maybe it? And it just
A
like
little bit more, I think. Like there's
because
not.
I feel like it was like everyone knew AFCON was usually in January, but like has this always been in January? Did they
No,
change it?
I don't remember it being in January, and I keep up with like pretty much all the international stuff. So maybe I just forgot, and that's on me. But
Because I
yeah,
don't ever remember Taremi leaving in January
no,
before.
that's what I'm thinking. Like I'm like, I mean,
Or
cool, like
Slimani
great.
never left in January,
No,
did he?
that's what I'm wondering. But it is in Qatar this year, I think, as well, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe that's why. Maybe it was a summer thing,
Okay, yeah,
and
that would
because
make
they did
sense.
kind of like the World Cup, because it's going to be kind of not great conditions for most footballers, they probably decide let's move it kind of to the winter.
Do those Middle East countries just host every tournament now?
I
Like,
mean,
that's how it seems. I'm not gonna
it
lie.
feels like it's starting to feel like
Or
it,
any
right? Like
like Super Cup that's like a one-off game. It's like
because like
or
they just Saudi Arabia just
Club
had
World
the
Cup.
Club World Cup, right?
Any one-off thing. Like it's always in Saudi or Qatar now.
Yeah, I'm like even the Club World Cup in recent years, it's been like Qatar. I know they had it a couple times as like a test event because they got rid of
They
Confederations
used
Cup.
to do it as like a World Cup test, yeah, like a Confederations Cup
That
test.
was yeah. Well, Confederations Cup used to be the World Cup test, and then they got rid of it. I just want to say RIP the Confederations Cup. I love that shit.
USA one time made a sick run to the semi and lost to Brazil.
Man, that
They
was a
should have
fun
won. They
tournament.
should have beat Brazil.
That was a fun tournament. I'll die on that hill. But yeah, so I think that's just kind of what it is. Maybe that's why the AFC Cup is winter. And if it always has been winter, I apologize for my ignorance. But yeah, so we're losing him, which is rough on more so on the midfield.
I also just saw something about Mozambique being like getting like Jenny's gonna stay a game longer now because like something happened with the Mozambique team.
Is he?
I
I
briefly
didn't
saw
see.
this like 10 minutes before we came on.
I know we're losing him and Diomande as well.
We
Diomande will be
are
going
still
to
losing
Cote
him, but I think we
d'Ivoire.
get him for 1 game longer now.
Oh, that's not so bad then.
I think we keep him for well, we have a game Friday, right? So I think
We'll keep him for this week, and then he'll probably be on the next plane out to where he's got to go. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, so we're losing 3 key players. I think if Kawach hadn't been hurt, I'd feel a bit more comfortable with Diomande. If Kawach and St. Juste were both healthy, I'd be like, yeah, it's fine. Like Diomande's going, sucks, but we've got 2 good covers. I think the rumor is Kawach will be back for the next game.
Kind of needs to be.
Kind of has to be because otherwise you're going to run.
The rumor is St. Just is close to returning as well.
Yeah, well, and Inacio will be back from suspension too, I suppose.
But like
so that's
he's close to returning, but like he's not gonna play. Like
he might make like a 15 to 10 minute.
Yeah, he's gonna come in and be a bench option.
Like,
he's not gonna be a plug and play type of guy.
No, he's not gonna start. He's not gonna play for more than like 20 minutes at most. Like, let's be realistic. Yeah, nothing else to add this game. It was an ugly game, but these are the games you really got to win. Is the ugly games. These are the make or break games for any team that's looking to fight for a title. It is chaos at the top of the table right now. Like everyone's separated by like 1, 2, and 3 points. I think, like between us and Braga and Porto and Benfica, it's very close. Like it will not shock me if this title race comes down to the very last match day, if not like the third last match day. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be one of those championships where we have like a runaway leader in March kind of thing, unless someone goes on a stupid heater between now and March.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Which I doubt the way every team's played and the way the schedule is going to shake out. I very much doubt it. Man of the match for you on this game. I've picked Morita for myself.
Tough for me.
You could go Adon.
I know. I was actually thinking that.
I wouldn't be opposed to that one.
I mean, they give it to Gyökeres, but for me, this is not a Gyökeres man of the match.
No.
Especially I think we have like performance bias on him. Like we know this is so far from like the top of his game.
No,
he still had a nice game.
He had a decent game. He had a goal, but it wasn't his best.
Yeah,
game,
but I've seen so much better from him. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Adon.
That's fair.
3 saves. 3 saves. 5.7. Like that is among his higher ratings. To be fair, it's a bit unlucky. It's not in the 6s.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's no real causes from this game that I could think of upon just recent reflection. I think it was a relatively
What did you
Same game.
think? What did you think of Neto's inclusion over Eduardo Quaresma after the game that Quaresma had against Porto? What did you think of that?
Surprised, but also not surprised because I think they kind of assumed Portimonense might be playing counterattack and inshallah with the crosses.
And what did you? And then what did you think of Neto's performance?
Neto was just kind of there. Like he
Yeah,
was
he's
he
always
was
good
just
for
kind
a
of
yellow card as well,
it's just true.
no
He's
matter
one of those
what.
guys he's getting a yellow.
Yeah, he's getting a yellow
He
every
was
time he
just
plays.
fine. I don't know how much better Quaresma would have done. I think Quaresma would have done at least as well with the start, if not a little better.
Quaresma came
Maybe
in was
that's
and was
it.
okay. I mean, he wasn't on the Porto level. I mean, the Porto level was just like that was probably the best game
That
he's
was
ever had.
he was on sicko mode that game. He had like Michael Secret stuff from Space Jam before the game. Yeah, I wasn't
So it's gonna be
I wasn't
unfair to
too
compare him
surprised.
to that going forward, but it's
No,
just
it's
it's in
like
my
when
head. It's recent memory, you know.
it's like when Gonzalo Ramos scored the hat trick against Switzerland. Everybody thought he was gonna score like 8 goals a game for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Like a little harsh. Like, no, I wasn't super surprised. I would have liked to see him start. I'm glad he still got good run time, and he played pretty well for during the cameo he got. He made that big game saving tackle at I believe it was 2-1.
He's good enough that I guess he can still play at this level, which was not even clear
A
for a
year
while.
ago we
Yeah,
we
it
wouldn't
was
even be having
unclear
this
if he could still
conversation.
even play at this level,
Yeah,
or if
a
he was
year
just
ago
strictly a
we're not
locker
talking
room
about it.
like a motivational guy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to see he's starting to slowly bounce back. I think people expecting like world class level start overnight, like need to simmer their expectations a bit. I think there is a player there. We've seen flashes of a player there over the last few years, like during the title winning season and whatnot. It looks like maybe he's starting to finally get his attitude, whatever attitude issues he may or may not have had, and some maturity issues under check. Yeah, it's nice now that he seems to be a somewhat decent option going forward. Which, especially heading into January, knowing you're going to be losing a center back, one of your top center backs, knowing you have someone kind of decent to fall back on if needed, I think that's helpful. So good on him. I would have liked to see him start, but I wasn't upset or surprised by the Neto inclusion.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Any other talking points from this game?
For this game, nothing really on my end that I can think of. It was a relatively tame game by
Yeah,
Liga
yeah.
Portugal standards for the most part. Relatively tame weekend. There wasn't really any major
I
causes
mean,
we have to think about.
the Shavs had a penalty shot at the
Oh,
end of the
there
Porto
was the
game.
Shaw's penalty shout, but I think that was the only big one. Yeah,
Yeah,
which I think they absolutely have reason to be
yeah,
griping
I've
about that.
certainly seen it given. His arms up in the air.
That's the thing, right? We've seen it given, and then when you don't give it, it's like, well, which is it? Because like when you call it one way or the other, you're setting a
It
precedent,
feels like
right?
one of those moments where maybe if the roles are reversed, they're probably
They
given that.
might be like, let's go take a look
I
at
feel
that.
more
Oh, you know
inclined to be
what?
given
Yeah,
that if it's reversed.
yeah. I think if that's against a bigger team, if that's the other way around, or it's a bigger team, they probably look at that and go, yeah, we're gonna have to give that. Just just Portuguese league
It's
things.
tough out here being a small club, man.
I do feel bad for the small clubs. I feel like they get no benefit of the doubt sometimes. That's Portugal until we want to grow up, but that's what it's going to be. Next game is actually we had a toss the Liga game just
Yeah,
before
what is
New Year.
briefly?
We'll briefly touch on that. That was against Tondela, so we're into the final four now, which is great. We played Braga, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the final four. But
Yes, correct. That is correct.
yeah.
That is correct.
And then the other teams, no goal point for this. I forgot they only do a couple. So I'm gonna zoom in quick. So our starting lineup was Big Franco Israel, Luis Neto captaining this game, because of people being out from injury and whatnot. Gonzalo Inacio and Mateus Reis, rounding up the center backs. The fullbacks, or Ricardo Gaio was the other fullback, but against coming in had a goal. So good on him. Hulman started. Nuno Sanch started. Trincão got minutes. Paulinho got a goal. And Pedro Gonçalves also started. Subs were Asugo. We got some Asugo minutes for all my stands out there. Katamo and Quaresma also came in as subs. Tondela, it was Ricardo Silva, Tiago Almeida, Ricardo Alves, Mazenga, Barros Bebeto, Andre Saitil, I thought that next guy's name was Shithole. I was like, oh, that's a sus name.
Yeah, it's the shithole guy. I've seen shithole out here.
I think it's Sithol.
Yeah, it is.
Dos Anjos and Farias. They could have won this game by like 8, if we're being really honest. They were all over them the entirety of the game. Paulinho had one, again, typical Paulinho game, could have had 2 or 3. I thought by the first half they should have led by at least 4 or 5-0. It was kind of a little close for comfort. We got our goals at least. Nothing too crazy. It was a nice way to kind of round off the little mini Christmas break they had. Trincão was the only sore spot for me. He really was not impressive. I'm like, man, if you can't even impress and like toss the Liga minutes, like that's problematic. Nobody else really looked bad. Everybody else looked pretty okay. Pot was fine. Paulinho was fine. Nuno Santos was there. He had an assist. Bragança, I thought, had the best game at everybody. He's my man of the match. Had a great goal. Had a nice assist. So good on him. And yeah, you're right, by the way. I'm seeing this now. Luis Neto, good for a yellow in this game, too.
He will get a yellow in every game.
He will get a yellow.
He is, to God, bro.
He is good. If you know he's starting, bet on the yellow.
Yeah,
it's easy. I think it's easy money at this.
Yeah. Maybe you won't get it that one time, but like 3 in every 4, that's gonna.
Yeah, if you're looking at like an odds thing, like I think it's a minimum 70% chance of getting a yellow. And yeah, another rare Israel start. We've seen a few more, but we've seen a bit more of them.
What did you think of Israel?
He didn't have much to do. I thought the goalie could have maybe done a bit better, but like again, there wasn't much really going on for him, right? I feel like that's the caveat you got to add is like the games he's played, he's had to be relatively quiet, save for like maybe 1 or 2 chances for the most part. So it's still tough to kind of have any strong opinions on him one way or the other. What are your thoughts on big Franco Israel?
Yeah, it's tough to really get a good evaluation on him because when he plays, the other team doesn't really reach the goal that much.
No.
It would be nice, honestly, to see him kind of get peppered, but like in a game that doesn't matter, which doesn't really exist at this point.
Like we needed a draw from this game, anyways. Like we were,
we needed a draw. Like it would have been nice, like if Tondela somehow like had taken the game to us, but like not actually, done enough to like defeat us, but like and did enough to like train Israel and a little bit more
just to give him a competitive game, right? Like
because I mean, to be fair, that's like kind of what he needs to, if he really wants to like make the goal. If he really wants to put pressure on the starting keeper, he needs to have like a great performance.
He needs to have one monster game, I think, at least.
And it's just tough for him. I mean, it's better for the team, obviously, right? That he's not having monster games because he's not really put in a position to even have one. But like for him personally and his own ambition, I'm sure, it's tough for him to really get a foothold. And despite like Adan's struggles, it hasn't really felt like there's a real pressure on him. Like that he's actually going to lose his spot. There's even like a competition, right? It hasn't felt like that at all. And then Adan will have a decent game like this, like he had Saturday, and that will just it'll close the door until into 2 weeks from now when he'll crack it open again. But then and then he'll close it. Like the door just gets cracked. It's never like a jar.
He hasn't quite got his foot in the door yet. He's just a half second too late getting.
And all it takes, sometimes is just the door being cracked, just enough for you to get your foot in. But he just hasn't had the opportunity for that. To be honest,
it's like we've said multiple times. We can clamor for replacement for Adan, but like no one's been able to really make a case for themselves, kind of through no fault of their own. Like it is what it is, but we just kind of got to live with it. And I think, until he has like maybe a crazy monster game, whether it's through the fault of the team or his own, and he goes sicko mode. He maybe has like a 10
He's also never been like a full-time senior regular. No. So like, let's just say the backup was like even someone like Romain Salin, like someone like that, who's like been a full-time number 1 before.
At some point,
there would be more pressure on him. But the fact that Israel's like never even been a number 1, like, it just feels like there's like almost no pressure on him, despite like leaving a lot to be
because
desired.
he came straight from Juventus Academy, but he wasn't a full-time
Juventus
senior starter.
U23. No, it was the only. I don't even know if he ever made an appearance for this senior Juventus team.
Yeah, I
Think he
don't
was
think
the
so. He was never a
U23.
senior. He
Yeah.
was never like a senior starter, like you said. He's been in all like B teams, youth teams, and
He's
stuff
still
up until
young
he came
too.
to
I mean, that's
Sporting.
also why he
He's what? He's
hasn't.
like
Yeah.
21, like
Yeah.
22. He's young goalie. Like most goalies, like don't really peak until they're like late 20s anyway. Like Patricio was a weird case because like we had no goalies. Like Ricardo, we just sold Ricardo. Vladimir Stojkovic was an unmitigated disaster. So I just kind of fell on Patricio, like who was supposed to be the backup that year, and then he just we just lived with Patricio as a starter for like a decade because the team was in shambles anyways. So it's not often you see like a 19, 20-year-old goalie start unless you're like Donnarumma or Patricio, and those were two wildly different circumstances again. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. He's still young, like he's got time, but he hasn't had much. Again, not much to really showcase.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other strong thoughts or accusations of this game, Chris? Any
No,
predictions
just
for the
I
Final
guess
Four?
just keeping it on this subject. We play Braga ended
Yeah.
January 23rd, I believe, and then the final is the 28th, maybe something like that. 26th.
It'll be a few days. It'll be a
So it'll
couple
be
days
like the
later.
Saturday after. I believe the Braga game is a Tuesday. So we have a
Yeah.
Thursday for the league, and then Tuesday, and then hopefully Saturday.
Yes, and the Final Four is in Ladia again for I believe the third or fourth year running, if I'm not mistaken. For the Mickey Mouse Allianz Toss the Liga spectacular edition of the Cup. And
Four
the
games.
winner,
That's all you need to do now.
it's you can't classify a season as a full fair if you win a trophy, and I include the Toss the Liga in that. You want to build a winning culture around the club, you got to win. You got to win the cups sometimes. That's what it is. Even if you're not winning the league every year, if you can win a cup every year, that's something. The winner of this will get Benfica and I believe Estoril.
Estoril, yeah.
Yeah, the winner of that. So we could have probably potentially a derby game in the final again. We did beat Benfica last time out in the derby for the Taça Liga a couple years ago. So, it's been I know they were the Kings, but it's kind of been our competition the last 5 or 6 years.
It has been. The momentum and the Kings of Winter has changed.
Has shifted to our side of Lisboa.
We're kind of been the new Kings of the new Kings of Winter since like 2019.
Yeah. So we'll take that. That's it. I think that's it on this game. We'll preview more Toss Liga when obviously that game or those games get closer, is the hope. Moving on, we do have some interesting news. Sod related for the VMOX. Sporting did some debt repurchase, so I'll leave that to you, Chris. You have the floor for this one.
So basically, we've talked about before, and we've covered the last year when they repurchased the debt. Basically, the easiest way to think about it is debt that the banks own that after X amount of time converts to shares of Sporting Sad. So basically, it's just basically shares of Sporting Sad essentially.
Yeah.
And the date that it was set to expire was 2026, I believe.
Yeah, they had another 2
So there's still a little bit of time to manage it. But basically what happens after that time is like anyone can buy it, right? So like you're risking just some random entity, taking whatever,
like
5%.
Chris and Richard at Limited Enterprises could he theoretically just purchase that debt and own part of
I doubt we would have got as good of a deal though.
I doubt we get the deal they get. I don't think we have
whatever,
the finances, but hypothetically, like anybody can do it. just so people understand, like anybody can do that.
And so Sporting had about 83% ownership of Sporting Sad prior to this repurchase, and it went up to 88%. So basically, this was worth about 5%
of the club
of Sporting Sad. Yeah.
Yeah. Who owns the other? So who owns the other 12% again? Because I know there's a couple groups.
It's a combination of Álvaro Sobrinho.
Yes.
And as well as there's this other limited sports business company. I forget the guy's name.
Isn't like Holdimo or
believe it's called
something?
that's Alvaro Sobrinho's
That's
Holdimo.
Sabrina. Okay.
Yep, and then it's called Olive the Sport, and they have like 2%.
Yes, because they also own, I think, part of Braga's son as
Yes,
well.
but
if I'm
it's
not
a very
mistaken.
small percentage, and they
Yeah.
also had their share reduced, like when they were restructuring about a year ago.
Yeah.
And they went from like 5 to 3% or something like that. So I would say like of that outstanding 12, it's probably like 9% Sobrinho, 3% Olive the
And
Sport.
then the rest is Sporting.
Yeah.
Which leads us to the next talking point. So there's been rumors all pretty much that haven't really wanted to go away about Sporting selling shares of the sod to a minority third party. They would obviously own much of sod. It would only be like a small percentage. It probably only takes Sporting back down like 80% maybe, or like maybe 75 at most.
I actually was gonna ask you about this.
Yeah.
Like how much do you think they're looking to sell? Like,
They
do you
own
think they're
80.
looking
They
to
own
sell?
88%. They own 88%.
So, like, do you think they're looking to sell like a 40% chunk or like a
No,
10% chunk?
no, there's no shot. I don't think they take that risk. I think as a club, you need to hold at least 70% of your sod in Portugal, because you do run the risk of shit. We've seen it all the time, especially with the smaller clubs, of shady people kind of coming in and then it destroys the club.
It goes kind of well at first.
It always goes kind of well
like
at first.
an initial infusion of cash. They're like, oh,
Yeah, it's like
and
anything.
then
it always goes
after a
kind of
year,
well at
it
first. There's
almost
the
goes.
honeymoon. There's the honeymoon period, right? That first year is always kind of okay. You're seeing maybe a nice transfer or maybe some infrastructure upgrades or whatever or what have you. And then after that, it's kind of a crapshoot. I think they'll probably sell maybe like 10, 15%. I think any more you're really
Because
pushing
that
it because
is
it has to go to a vote.
It's noticeably been absent from
Yeah.
many articles that I've read.
Yeah.
How much they're looking to sell. Also, I feel like this whole conversation it's been like, if this conversation was happening 5 years ago, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
there would be much more like robust debate,
Yeah.
concern, questions, like how much are we looking to sell, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like the way that like opposition in the club has just kind of been neutered. Like, I don't know,
There's no real objections to anything.
speaking displeasure, even like just kind of like asking questions to hold people accountable.
Mhm.
Voices like that don't really exist anymore. They certainly don't exist in the papers, and they
No.
barely exist online anymore. So like this whole thing has just kind of been like a slow march. I mean,
Yeah.
in
And this is a rumor. And look,
October, Varandas denied that this was happening.
with and that's the thing. These rumors since
That was 2 months
since the
ago.
fall
I mean,
have been persisting. They just haven't really gone away, which tells me there is a bit of smoke to the fire. There is a bit of smoke to the fire.
to be honest, I'm not particularly thrilled about all this, and I'm also not particularly thrilled about the manner in which it's going down.
I think if they were more public about saying
They're
it's something
still
we're
not being
exploring,
upfront
like,
about it in any
and
way, shape, or
that's
form.
and it's almost disrespectful, right? It's like if they were upfront about it, like, especially after the announcement, they said we have so much percent. We may, we're looking to sell between X and Y percent. It could be 5%, 10%, 15, whatever. At the end of the day, I think it still needs to go to a vote.
I think it will as well, but I'm not
being
like, I don't
said,
think
it's
that they
basically just going to be
care. Like, they'll just pass it, and if it
Yeah,
barely fails, they'll just have
because
it
the
vote
ones that
again.
are that might object to it won't get to
I
vote
don't think they
anyways.
view it has to be approved in a vote as a real obstacle to anything.
That's what I'm wondering, and I think it might depend too on who the investor is. There's been this rumor about Daddy Todd from Chelsea coming in, and that's again a rumor that hasn't wanted to go away, which concerns me because Chelsea fans can cope all they want. The actual way the club's been run has been disastrous. Been they're bleeding money. They're just spending money for the sake of it, and that's not something I would want for us. Also, I just don't
they
want
have a very unsustainable model going on.
It is not that's not a sustainable model. Letting your money on fire is never a sustainable model. That's the hot take.
So when you buy up the rights, or at least partial rights, to these satellite clubs, when the money starts to get tighter, what's the first thing that gets cut?
Exactly. Like it's gonna be us.
The budget for the satellite clubs, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be us, which is why I don't trust it. Like the only club that's kind of done somewhat of a job has been, I guess, Man City, because Red Bull's given up on some teams, and even Man City at times, and I don't like that model of sustainability and how they do it.
Girona's
But
having a good season.
Toronto's having a good season. New York City won a trophy like a couple years ago. Like, Man City's doing it kind of okay, at least, where the satellite clubs don't seem to really be affecting one another, almost run separately, save for maybe the odd loan here and there. If it's run like that,
and
I
to
wouldn't
be fair,
oppose.
this is a club that Sporting has decent relations with. At one point, I don't know if we still did, we even ever actually did, or if it was just kind of like a handshake agreement. We had like a strategic partnership, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the status of that is these days.
Yeah. We've had a few of those that we just have no clue what.
And to be fair, the strategic partnership is chill because it involves no actual ownership of the side. Maybe we get Pedro Porro on a discount. Maybe
it's just kind of like collaborating like to the side, right? Like that's kind of what those are.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's run like a Man City where you're kind of hands off for the most part, and you're just kind of letting each club do its own.
I haven't really followed Strasbourg that much, but I feel like that is the club that we need to look at.
For
some more answers, as far as like how things have run, how things have gone, comparing 2 seasons ago to where they are now, stuff like that. I'm not too clued in on that, to be honest. I don't follow the French league impeccably close. I tune in sometimes, and I can't speak to Strasbourg that much. Maybe if this becomes official, we could even have a Strasbourg fan on here. I feel like that would be a good gauge to like what to expect. Like, are they just sending their junk here on loan? Or are they trying to sign? Like, I just can't speak to it enough. But what I can speak to is this guy Bowley. Like,
I don't like him, and I don't trust him.
Man.
No, we're gonna add the caveat. That's again just kind of rumor. It's a rumor that hasn't gone away. It could be rumors. It could be somebody else. It could be.
But there was a report last week that his group leads the way.
Yeah, and
so it is like a founded rumor.
Yeah, and it could end up that it's another group. Maybe he steps up, and it could end up that it ends up being no one, and Sporting just owns 88% of the side. Like, don't think that this.
And also to say, like, this is a combination of like Bruno Carvalho and Varandas post 2010 financial restructure, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's how these banks got these VMOCs in the first place. And then Sporting reacquired them and maintained possession of the side. So like
it
works, right? Like, this was like a 10-year. Yeah, a 10-year plan, basically started by one admin,
continued very well by another admin.
He will never acknowledge the first part of that, and the second guy will never. Other guy will never acknowledge the second part of that.
No,
but that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the culmination of like a 10-year financial restructuring, which ultimately worked.
It's been beneficial. Like every year we've gained. Every year since that restructure, we've gained little bits of the side.
Where has the money come from that has financed all of these repurchases? It's all been the NOS contract.
It's been mostly the NOS
all
contract.
3 times. Yeah. No, I think it's completely the NOS.
Is it all NOS contract? How much was that contract?
550 million.
10 years. We basically just saying, here's the money we've been getting.
It's supposed to go to 2028, but it's probably going to run out next year. So
I know
they drained earlier than it would have, but like that NOS contract has done a lot for the club.
It's good because if they do centralize it, I mean they will they have no choice. They're going to centralize the TV rights in the next 5 years at the soonest, at the latest. It's I think by law.
BTV, like the existence of BTV with rights to games is like definitely a major obstacle.
But I remember when that started, like both Sporting and Porto said we don't want that. We want to have it like that was the one, because Sporting and Porto were like, yeah, like we're open to centralization.
They have their own respect. They both have their own respective channels.
Yeah, but they both said we don't want to have other fans accuse us of biases on our own channel. We want like at least the coverage to be neutral and like professional. We don't want to have to do that. It's not fair to any other club.
And it is a bit ridiculous, to be fair. It's also ridiculous to the consumer who, in theory, to watch all the games, needs
you
to
have to pay for multiple
channels.
things. It's ridiculous. Even it's like that here in Canada, the States too. Like if you want to watch, half the Benfica games, which is going to include the games you want to watch, like Braga, Porto, and Sporting, you have to pay for BTV here.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's stupid.
It's not cheap either.
Oh no, that shit's expensive. I'm glad I'm not paying for it. That shit's expensive, right? Like
yeah. Just for one channel. Yeah.
No, like so I remember when the NOS contract came about, it's because Benfica TV kind of screwed centralization up for everybody for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at some point they have no choice. They're going to do. I think it's been codified like by the courts. Like you have to centralize your TV rights, and everybody's getting at least to start. You
could also look at it like there's kind of a financial hole in the books. It's like this money has been helpful. It comes in every year. They've taken from future money out of it to pay for things now. They're gonna have to find these millions from somewhere else.
I think their saving grace has been the last, as well in the last decade, how many good player sales they've had.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
I think that makes
the operation's not sustainable without player sales.
No, oh no, right now in Portugal, like unless TV rights like went up, like that's what it's gonna be. But
yeah,
I think one or two player sales, has basically negated that. Like just the sales they made on this summer alone, I think.
For sure, they've also been in a good run of kind of getting.
They've been for most of pretty much since like 2014. They've been competitive. They've gotten back to somewhat of a winning culture, which really for the previous 30-40 years they didn't have. Like whether you want to admit it or not, like the area under Varandas is where we've kind of been the most successful, and outside of the COVID season. In the seniors, yes. I know some of the Modalidades have suffered. Some have stayed competitive, some haven't. But I think overall, like being competitive and having a good team goes a long way because it makes your merch sales goes up, makes your ticket sales usually go up. The farther you go on competition,
the heavy lifting for sure.
The more you compete in like Champions League or Europa League, and the further you go in those competitions, like that money adds up. We made like 10 million off Europa League already this season. That's not chump change. That's a player sale.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. Like it's good, right? So I think a lot of that money that we've advanced from the NOS contract, I think people forget too. A lot of that has been made up via other avenues, regardless. So I think it's just they did it from the NOS contract because that's just the easiest, as opposed to dipping into the bank account kind of thing. Maybe that's why they've done it, but. Yeah, we'll see what happens. There's no real concrete news. It's just a lot of rumors. It could be Todd Bowley comes in, buys a small share, buys a bigger share. Could be somebody else. It could be nobody. Like people, I think, feel like there's a foregone conclusion. We're selling part of the sod to somebody. It could end up nothing.
It seems like that's where it's heading.
That's where it feels like. Like unless they get someone they feel they can trust, like I feel like that's where it's going to head. And it's not the worst thing because it just gives you future leverage later on if you can keep acquiring more of your sod. If they ever end up owning 100% of the sod, who's to say then down the line? It's like now we've got all the leverage. We can sell as much or as little as we want. They can sell like 25%, and they still own 75% and have all the final say on any decisions, right? Like that's kind of the ultimate play at the end of the day, I would imagine. But we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what they decide to do. The next few weeks, few months will be interesting. So keep an eye on the news cycles.
For sure.
Anything else to add on to that one, Chris, or no?
No, I mean, yeah. I guess we'll see how it continues to play out, and we'll see how it continues to be covered in the press. The slow drip of information. I'll be honest. It seems like they go for the like just don't talk about it until
that's what it feels.
Until we absolutely have to, and then write one article about it, and then stop talking about it.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of been the cycle, and then you don't hear anything for a while, and then you don't hear anything for a while, anyways.
Yeah,
and then it turns out to be nothing. Right? That's kind of been the way it's been the last 2 years, 3 years. I feel like it gets talked about for a bit, and then it kind of just goes away, and then something else might come up, and then it just goes away after like a month or two. Like This is the only one that's kind of stayed around a bit more than like a month or two. That's the only. I think that's the only.
Maybe
real
I've been talking
difference.
about this type of thing for years.
Oh, it'll always pop up, right? Like I think the potential for like the business side of Portuguese football is huge. It's always going to pop up, especially when you're a bigger club in the market, right? Like there's always gonna be at least conversations or like poking and prodding the bear to see like how much they can buy or sell or whatever, right? It's gonna happen. So I think that's where I stand.
Yeah,
Only other thing for me this week is we do have some fun stuff from the league predictions. You tied me, by the way. I just want to.
I had a good.
You had
I got the score right.
Monster week. So let me know if that's popped up for you.
Let me add it to this
On
stage.
StreamYard.
Okay, there we go.
All right. So Chris has tied me this week. He had a huge 4-point week. So we're actually tied on 37 points.
We're pulling away a little bit.
We pulled away a little bit.
Danny's
at 32 and Sam's at 30. We're going to show you the results. So I'm going to scroll down to here, the Portimonense. So Danny put up 2. He had Jokeras and he had the Sporting win. So he got 2 points.
5-1, damn.
You had the Sporting, you had the correct winner. You had a goal scorer and you had the correct score line. So that's what gave you the points. I had Jokeras times 2. He only got the 1, so I got the goal scorer and the fact that Sporting won. Sam got both goal scorers, but he had the wrong result. If he had both goal scorers and the result, he would have had another big week. That's where it stands now. And then for Toss the Liga, if I scroll over, I believe it is here in this tab. Here. Yes. Danny just forgot to predict again. Rip him. He's been giving away points last month. Chris had a 2-0 result. He had a goal scorer and the winner. I had a 3-0 result. I had a goal scorer and a winner as well. Sam had a goal scorer and the game winner as well. So nothing really 2s across the board for that. That's where we stand on the predictions table. So you've made up some ground. You've caught up pretty well. I don't have real fever up this week, so
yeah, I don't even think I've ever logged into it on my computer, to be honest.
I've never logged into my computer, so next week we'll have a real fever update. I do think you guys pulled a bit away from me again. I think
Danny had a good week. I think I finished 3rd this week, so I think I'm I had gotten like 10-15 back on Danny, and I think he might have just gotten him back.
Okay, because I feel like that's what happened to me too. Was Danny had a good week and pulled, because I was exactly 100
canceled out like a week or two,
and then he canceled out like a couple points on me this week. So it happens. Yeah, I think that's just about everything. Nothing really for
we only had the 1.5 games, if you will.
Yeah, nothing for really modalities this week. They were all on break.
We can preview and predict the Estoril game on Friday.
Yes, so we play Estoril Friday. We're at home, I believe, correct?
We are.
Okay. Estoril's been a
early one here on the East Coast. 1:45 kickoff Friday.
On Friday, I gotta work.
I'm gonna have to watch the first half of my phone at work.
I'd probably won't even be able to watch a game.
Yeah, it's a tough time. 3:00 on Friday is usually better.
It's usually okay.
1:45, that's early, man.
That's an early Friday game. Yeah, geez. But we will be the first game, so we'll get to set the tone for the weekend. Estoril is a bit of a tricky one because they've stolen games off of Porto multiple times this season.
Been in a lot better form recently.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be another like 2-1, maybe a 2-0. I think they're going to be well organized. They're going to be pain in the ass. I mean, you're dumb not to predict a Jokeras goal at this point in the season. I feel like you just predict it every week and hope. I think Jokeras and maybe Paulinho. I think we might see a bit of a repeat of this past week against Portimonense.
Yeah, I wonder if Paulinho is going to get the start again or not. Yeah,
I am curious actually if he gets started. That's a good point.
I mean, I'm going to go for the win as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go 2-1 again.
Yeah. I think it's
going to be a tough game, to be honest.
Yeah, they're a pain in the ass, and they're always a pain in the ass team. This season especially, they've shown they can really take points off the big boys and really give them a hard time. So I think even though we're at home, they're going to cause some headaches. Hopefully, at least the first half is better than the last game, and it's not total
I
just
hope. I mean, it's
cruisable.
gonna be hard for it to be worse than that, to be honest.
It's unless you go down unless
Yeah,
you go
they
down a man or
really
go
go
down a
down.
goal, that's the only way it could really go worse realistically. Yeah, I think 2-1's probably a fair result. I think they're going to be a pain in the ass team, so I think that's probably what's going to be. So it's nice. We'll hopefully have the provisional 4-point gap, and then hopefully one of Porto, Benfica, or both can have a little stumble, and that would go a long way into helping us. Give us maybe a 3-point gap heading into the following game week. So who knows? And then we'll also have Europa League coming up soon too. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because
That's in February.
yeah, so in a few weeks, I think we'll have our games against the young boys, Danny's favorite team, as he said on the last show. Sus behavior, but he moves. Yeah, I think that's everything. Chris, where can they find you?
Right here.
Good stuff. Make sure to follow Chris. Make sure to follow
Rich
myself.
is here.
Check out Danny and Sam as well
Danny, and Sam as well. And I
on
don't even
the.
see the AT Alvalade.
It's all good. They should know by now.
Yeah, AT Alvalade on
AT
Twitter.
Alvalade. It's AT Alvalade on all social medias. Those are all our handles that we just showed for the app formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. We'll be back hopefully next week to review hopefully another big win. There we go, AT Alvalade. So you can follow that's for X, but we're AT Alvalade on all social medias, threads or IP threads. Right now we haven't really posted on there, but any social media you can follow us on AT Alvalade. X/Twitter is where we're probably the most active. So make sure to check us out, like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Vivo Sporting and peace.
Peace.